Hello and welcome to the Insights and Motivation YouTube podcast. Yes, this is an AI-generated content, but remember, there was a human at the beginning of it, creating and curating this material with care and purpose. I request you, dear listener, to step aside from any bias and listen to the message itself. Take the message, not the messenger. That is the key. The same is true for the rest of the playlists and podcasts on this channel, each designed to inspire thought, dialogue, and transformation. Now let me begin the podcast. Science, knowledge, and technology, culture-preserving applications of democratic principles. Science isn't culture neutral. The way you and I learn, build, and share knowledge is always shaped by language, land, faith, craft, family livelihoods, and national identity. A democratic approach to science, indigenous knowledge, and technology should add to local culture, never erase it. Below, I map each democratic principle to concrete, classroom-ready practices that integrate Indigenous Knowledge Systems, IKS, with modern scientific outlooks, while strengthening cultural identity and global readiness. SEO, STEM equity, Indigenous knowledge, open science, citizen science, culturally responsive STEM, Vedic knowledge, maker education, AI ethics, algorithmic fairness, bilingual science classrooms. Hashmar 1, equality and inclusivity in schools. Why science matters here. Inequality shows up in who gets lab time, whose methods are valid, which language is used to name phenomena, and who is seen as a real scientist. Cultural lenses, examples. Multilingual, low-resource regions. STEM terms exist only in the prestige language. Rural schools lack labs. Indigenous worlds, ecological wisdom, and artisanal engineering are sidelined as unscientific. Gender and disability, underrepresentation in labs, robotics, AI teams, accessibility gaps in equipment. Caste class barriers, e.g. South Asia, historic exclusion from scholarly spaces. Practical cultivation. Additive epistemology, teach side-by-side local observations, fisherfolk, farmers, forest dwellers, artisans, and instrument-based measurements. Local language STEM, build bilingual glossaries, let students draft in home language, then translate conclusions. Low-cost labs and maker carts, paper microscopes, DIY sensors, recycled materials engineering. Representation, rotate lab leadership among girls, Indigenous students, deaf Ho-H learners, and linguistic minorities. Access by design, caption demos, tactile models, screen reader-friendly lab sheets. Number 2, freedom and rights. Why science matters here. Democratic science protects inquiry, the right to hypothesize, test, and publish locally relevant results without ridicule. Cultural lenses, state market pressure, students feel pushed toward trendy topics over community needs. Taboo topics, traditional medicine, spiritual ecology, or sacred geographies. Practical cultivation, right to research charter, students choose problems rooted in their community, water quality, soil health, local materials. Open tools, encourage open source hardware, software, Arduino, microcontrollers, to lower cost and increase autonomy. Respectful pluralism, it's fine to explore ancestral practices, teach how to evaluate claims with fair, replicable methods. And number 3, rule of law and accountability. Why science matters here. Integrity and safety keep science trusted, especially when handling community knowledge or biological samples. Cultural lenses, extractive histories. Communities saw their knowledge taken without credit or benefit. Safety norms, inconsistent lab practices discourage participation. Practical cultivation, ethics safety, simple IRB-style checklists for school projects, consent risks data privacy. Community consent, before documenting local techniques, e.g. dyeing, herbal remedies, secure informed permission and agree on attribution. Attribution policy, cite elders, artisans, and field informants like you cite journals. Number 4, participation and representation. Why science matters here. Science is stronger when multiple epistemologies co-design questions. Cultural lenses, tokenism risk, inviting elders to perform but not to decide. Diaspora know-how, parents with trade skills rarely tapped as STEM mentors. Practical cultivation, Student Science Council's Community Board, seats for Indigenous artisan reps, deaf Ho-H advocates, local entrepreneurs. Citizen science, students map springs, bird migrations, air quality, share back to community in local language. Pathways, credit micro apprenticeships with local craftspersons, weaving math, metalwork, thermodynamics, boat building, buoyancy. Header 5, transparency and truthfulness. Why science matters here. Reproducibility, open data, and honest limits of evidence build public trust. Cultural lenses, misinformation. Miracle cures, tech hype, solutionism. Language barriers, methods intelligible only to English-speaking students. Practical cultivation, open lab notebooks. Students publish procedures, materials lists, and raw data in 2 languages. Uncertainty literacy, teach confidence intervals, error bars, and what we don't know yet. Plain language briefs, summaries for families and local leaders to invite scrutiny and collaboration. Number 6, deliberation and dialogue. Why science matters here. Communities must weigh trade-offs, dams, wind farms, GM crops, mining, tourism in culturally safe forums. Cultural lenses. High-context cultures prefer narratives and analogies. Sacred geographies. Engineering decisions intersect with ritual landscapes. Practical cultivation. 2-mode forums. Story circles, oral histories, place-based memory, evidence session, maps, data visualizations. Dialogue scaffolds. Frames that honor elders' testimony and instrument data. Translation tools. Visuals and metaphors that travel well across languages and literacy levels. 7. Checks, balances, and power sharing. Why science matters here. Peer review shouldn't be a gatekeeping tool only. It should share power. Cultural lenses. Prestige bias. Urban labs overrule rural observations. Algorithmic bias. Datasets that ignore local patterns. Practical cultivation, cross-epistemic review. Student projects undergo 2 reviews, technical, methods, and cultural, fit, consent, benefit. Algorithmic fairness labs, students test models for bias, health triage, language tools, using local data samples. Rotating stewardship, annual rotation of who controls shared equipment and data repositories. 8. Civic education and awareness. Why science matters here. Science literacy is civic literacy, climate policy, public health, infrastructure, AI governance. Cultural lenses. Disaster-prone regions blend traditional early warning signs with instruments. Agrarian zones, monsoon knowledge plus satellite rainfall data. Practical cultivation, STEM town halls. Students present findings to panchayats, municipal councils with clear asks. Participatory tech fairs, budget for community-proposed prototypes, water filters, cold chains, off-grid lighting, media literacy, compare news versus scientific briefs on vaccines, energy, and food security. 9. Social justice and equity. Why science matters here. Tech can widen or close gaps, digital divide, disability access, language exclusion, cultural lenses, connectivity deserts, expensive data, unreliable power. Assistive tech gaps, labs not accessible to blind, low vision, or mobility impaired learners. Practical cultivation, offline first STEM, cache content, use low-powered devices and solar kits. Assistive STEM kits, tactile graphs, audio probes, large print schematics, screen reader-friendly code. Scholarships and stipends support rural girls, Indigenous students, refugees, and first-gen learners into advanced STEM. Tomorrow morning, micro-practices, fast wins. Run a local phenomena audit. List 10 things your community knows: soil, seeds, dyes, tides. Turn 3 into experiments. Think, home language, measure any language. Publish, bilingual, workflow. Add a methods box to every lab. How would an elder artisan test this? Open notebook wall, pin raw data, errors, and retest plans. End class with 1 uncertainty students want to test next. Minimal policy kit, plain language, 1 to 2 pages each. 1. Right to research charter. Student choice, community problems. 2. Ethics and community consent, informed permission, attribution, data privacy. 3. Inclusive lab and safety, accessible protocols, captioning, tactile resources. 4. Open science and bilingual publishing, data sharing, plain language briefs. 5. Algorithmic fairness standard, bias checks before deployment. Assessment and accountability, simple metrics, sent projects co-designed with community members, elders, artisans, share of bilingual reports and open lab notebooks, representation in project leads, gender, language, disability, caste, tribe, reproducibility rate, another group can replicate towards one key result, share civic presentations to local bodies and actions taken thereafter, reduction in device, internet barriers, loaner kits issued, offline content used. Culture-specific adaptation examples, use, modify. India, with Vedic knowledge made intelligible globally, Sanskrit grammar and computation, introduce Panini's rule-based approach to language as a historical example of formal systems, connect to today's computational linguistics and rule engines. Mathematics and prosody, explore classical combinatoric patterns in Sanskrit prosody, e.g. meter patterns as an entry to binary thinking, recursion, and Pascal-like structures, then verify with code. Astronomy and calendars. Use traditional Panchanga observations, Tithis nakshatras, to teach celestial cycles. Pair naked eye sky mapping with planetarium apps. Ayurveda and ethnobotany. Build a school herb garden. Document properties with modern botany methods, taxonomy, active compounds, while crediting textual folk lineages. Discuss what modern clinical testing requires. Crafts as engineering. Pattern drafting in textiles for geometry and optimization, temple acoustics for wave physics, hand pump repair as mechanics, water harvesting tanks, stepwells for hydrology. Outcome: students see Vedic Indic knowledge as knowledge systems, inquiry-driven, debate-friendly, and nature-attuned, standing alongside instrument-based science, not beneath it. Aotearoa New Zealand, Maori, coastal ecology courses pair Mataranga Maori, seasonal indicators, customary rahui, sensor buoys and GIS mapping. Navigation projects link star paths to modern astronomy. Aboriginal Australia, cultural burning principles integrated with fire weather data and fuel load models. Students simulate mosaic burns in sandbox landscapes. Arctic, Inuit, sea ice lexicons and travel heuristics combined with satellite imagery. Students reconcile on-ice observations with thickness models. Andes, Quechua, Aymara, terracing, chuño, freeze-drying, and potato biodiversity mapped against climate resilience trials, community seed banks, plus genetics basics. Sahel, Masi, Zai pits and stone buns measured for runoff capture, low-cost moisture sensors validate traditional water harvesting. Japan, Monozukuri, craftsmanship and Kaizen embedded in maker labs. Students iterate devices with attention to precision and aesthetics. Islamic Golden Age, cross-regional, algebra, optics, and hospitals as case studies in method and peer critique. Students replicate classic experiments with modern sensors. Amazonia, multiple nations. Terra Preta, anthropogenic soils compared to compost systems. Students test biochar mixes for yield. West Africa, Ghana. Adinkra symbol grammars used to teach encoding, abstraction, and human-centered design. Deaf HOH learners global, sign first lab demos, haptic visual alerts for safety, sign glossaries for chemistry and physics. Refugee and low-power contexts, solar suitcase labs, offline code editors, hand-crank devices, community repair cafes for circular economy skills. How nations project themselves globally and how you can guide students. Positioning. Publish bilingual open data and culturally grounded prototypes. This signals originality plus inclusivity. Soft power. Share heritage-informed innovations, water, agriculture, health, at fairs and youth summits. Talent pipelines. Showcase students who bridge ancestral knowledge and modern tech. That's the new credibility. Did this podcast resonate with you? Are you an educator or a higher authority with the ability to influence educational policy and reform? If so, I encourage you to share this podcast as widely as possible within your connections, and do share and subscribe to this channel. This channel has lots of playlists and educational, psychological content with a focus on how to improve all systems of education, corporate culture, and many such topics. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for our next podcast.